In 1955, we declared that Rosa Parks, a black woman, who had the right to sit anywhere on the bus she chose to. Now, some people might say, well, Ms. Parks, you're making people feel uncomfortable. The good citizens of Montgomery don't feel comfortable with somebody like you sitting near them. So why don't you just go to the back, even though you have the right to sit up front? Now, hopefully from a 2010 perspective, we would all, be shocked at such an attitude. But that is exactly the attitude that it's being expressed around regarding this project. You listen to Fox News, that station is 24/7 trying to excite and divide Americans along religious lines, scapegoating the Muslim community. But, and this is sort of a well-worn right-wing tactic.
And I sat down with the congressman to discuss these comments and much more. Congressman, welcome to the program. Your first time.
Glad to be here, Sean.
All right, I want to go back. There's been a lot of issues, and I've followed a lot of the statements that you've made a lot of controversial statements since you've been congressman. Let me give you one example. You said, for example, you were calling the New York City mosque foes or opponents of Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf bigots and birthers, and you made a comparison to Rosa Parks. Can you give us some detail as to why?
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I will say that some of the opponents of Park 51, in fact, did say some things that I thought were intolerant, and that I'm one who believes in religious tolerance in our country, and I believe that people of all colors, all faiths, and all backgrounds ought to be able to pursue their First Amendment rights and their right to freedom of expression. But the fact is, Sean, that many of the people who opposed the Park 51 were people who did that on the basis of good faith. Some weren't, and I called them out on it.
Well, you actually called out Fox News. You said in a BBC interview, you said that I think if you listen to Fox News, the station 24/7 is trying to incite and divide Americans along religious lines, scapegoating the Muslim community, and this is a sort of well-worn right-wing tactic. Can you give me a specific example?
Well, Sean, I tell you, you do the show. You know what you guys broadcast all the time. I mean, I stand by the statement. I will say this, Sean, that look, I came on your show because you invited me here to talk about the issues, and perhaps this is a moment when we can really delve down into the substance of the issues that we either agree or disagree on. But to dive into a bunch of quotes about you said this about us and explain why you said it. I mean, I have had disagreements with some of your reportage, Sean, and I don't apologize for it.
But Congressman, in fairness, though.
Hang on, but I am straight up enough to come on your show to talk about the issues, to try to talk them through. Now, if you're telling me that you guys are going to try to be a little bit more even-handed when it comes to dealing with issues of religious tolerance, I welcome that. I'm for that. I think that's actually a good step, and I thought that by inviting me here, that's what you were trying to do. But I didn't really come on the show to get in a big debate with you about every quote I've ever made.
Congressman, you said about this network, this is an incredible charge. This is a charge of bigotry. You said Fox News...
Sean, I heard what you said.
I gave you a time uninterrupted. I gave you a time uninterrupted. I'm going to quote you.
Sean,
you said Fox News 24/7 is trying to incite and divide Americans along religious lines, scapegoating the Muslim community. I want one example. Give me one.
One example is that after the hearings that Peter King did, you refer to you talk about, every time you talk about terrorism and radicalization, you always attach the word Muslim to it or Islamic. And that particular connection, I think that's unfair. I mean, I think that terrorism is a problem that all Americans... No, let me finish, because you asked me, now I'm going to answer you. But I think that terrorism is a scourge. It's something that all Americans are against. We all stand against Al-Qaeda. But when you only associate radical and violent extremism with one religious group, I think that's too bad, and I think it's unfortunate. Okay. So there's your one example, Sean.
The 9/11 Commission report says that they were, meaning radical Islamists, those that are involved in jihad, those that kill in the name of Allah, those that think 72 virgins await them in heaven, those that have perverted a religion, radical Islamists, they said, the 9/11 Commission report, they are at war with us.
Against those individuals.
And we are not at war with them. So my question to you is, are we at war with radical Islam?
We are at war with violent extremists who would kill Americans, and some of them people might be Muslim, they might be white supremacists, they might be people who would kill at abortion clinics, they might be of any description. We don't stop at one particular group. We are trying to protect Americans from any violent extremists, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, any kind. That's what I think is the right position.
I have another question for you, because staying on the issue of the 9/11 mosque, let me ask you, Imam Rayouf said that the United States policies were an accessory to the crime that happened on 9/11. He also said Osama bin Laden is made in the USA, and he also said that America needs to be more Sharia compliant. Do you agree with him?
No, I don't. Well, I don't agree with that position. To tell you the truth, I don't know what he said, but what you said that he said, I don't agree with.
He said
I don't agree with the position. I don't agree with the quotes you just read. I believe that Osama bin Laden is a criminal who should be arrested and should be held accountable for what he did. I don't think that innocent Americans who were killed on 9/11 had any blame whatsoever in their fate, and I stand opposed to anybody who thinks so.
All right, because and I'm glad to hear you say that, because you were calling the foes of the mosque bigots, and I found his statement so over the top and bigoted in and of itself, and I'm glad to hear you say that. Let me ask you, as we move on.
Sean, let me say, I didn't call all of the opponents of Park 51 bigots. Some were, many were not.
You made
there
a
were
comparison.
people who had legitimate beliefs that were against that effort, but you know what? That's America. We all have a right to our difference of opinion. There were some individuals who I believe expressed extreme intolerance, and I stand by that.